Hey Unraiders, and welcome to another video. Now today we're looking at Paperless NGX. So just what's that? Well, if your office looks anything like mine, a chaotic sea of receipts, bills, and important letters that you'll probably never ever find again, then well, this video is for you. Think of it as a digital brain for all of your physical documents. You scan a document in, it reads the text, and suddenly your entire filing cabinet is searchable, allowing you to find that lost document that you put somewhere thinking you'd remember where it is tomorrow and never could. So, let's get organized and move across onto the Unraid server and make a start. Now, there are a few different ways to get this running, so I've decided to split this guide up into 3 distinct sections, so you can build a rock-solid foundation, have a fully working system, and then build on from there only if you want to. So in today's video, we're going to get the core system set up and fully operational. So that means by the time we've done with this part, you're going to have a working document archive that you can start using immediately. Now, as you can see, if you search for paperless here in community applications, you're going to see quite a few different results. And you might be wondering exactly what you need to get started. Well, obviously, we're going to be using Paperless NGX, the official container. But for our rock-solid foundation, we're also going to need a dedicated database. We're going to use Postgres for that, along with a Redis container, which is basically just a to-do list for Paperless. So when you do things like upload a document, Paperless doesn't stop everything to process it straight away. Instead, it puts it on the list so the background workers know there's work waiting. So this is what allows Paperless to multitask. All the heavy work like reading documents, running OCR, applying tags, that happens in the background, and it keeps the web interface fast and responsive so we can keep using it. So that's what we're going to do in part 1, and when we have the foundation set, we're going to move on to part 2. That's where we're going to install these containers, this one here, Gutenberg and Apache Tika server. These basically act as translators that allow Paperless to read Microsoft Office documents and emails, etc. Then after we've done that part, for the power users out there, it's going to be all about AI intelligence, and we're going to look at Paperless AI and Paperless GPT. These are going to allow us to use AI to automatically tag, rename, and even summarize documents the moment they hit the server. Alright, so with the plan in place, it's time to start building. But before we touch a single install button, let's talk about storage. What we're going to have to do is actually set up a share for Paperless to use. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new share, and you guessed it, I'm calling it Paperless. Now for me, I don't want to use this as a cache-enabled share, I'm just quite happy for it to go onto the array. So with that done, I'm going to click on to Add Share. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here to the SMB settings, and I'm going to export this as a share on my network, and I'm going to make it a private share, giving myself access here. So now let's go inside of this share, and now we need to create 3 core folders: Consume, Media, and Export. Now remember we made this shareable on the network a moment ago. Well, this is the payoff. By having the share on the network, you can actually map this to the Consume folder directly on your desktop, or even just point your scanner directly to it. So instead of having to log in every time you have a document, you can just drag and drop a PDF from your computer or hit scan on the scanner, and Paperless will automatically grab it from this folder and start processing it. So it makes the whole workflow feel completely seamless. Now, before we move on, just a little tip. If you're a Nextcloud user, you can actually link the Consume folder as an external storage drive right inside Nextcloud. So this means you can use Nextcloud app on your phone, etc., to upload a document and drop it straight into Paperless for processing. And as well, you can actually map this network share if you use Tailscale using your Tailscale IP. Then wherever you are with your laptop or your phone, etc., you're going to be able to access and drop files right into the folder. Now, as well, I should mention there are several great third-party Paperless apps available, both for Android and iOS if you want to go that route. They're excellent for searching and viewing documents, but in my opinion, I just prefer the Nextcloud method. It's a rock-solid way for getting your files on the server, and it's just my preferred way. Anyway, what are we doing talking about mobile access when we haven't even set anything up yet? Let's make a start and get this done. The first container we're going to install is our Postgres container, and the one we're going to use is this one here, this Postgres 16 container. I like using version 16 because it's mature and tested, and I think it's pretty much the sweet spot for use with Paperless. Now, there's a few things we're going to have to fill in here. We're going to need a Postgres password, and I'm going to just use a very bad one. I'm going to just call mine Paperless for the sake of this video. As well, we need a user, and again, I'm calling it Paperless. Now, I'd suggest you using stronger passwords and usernames than I am here. And also, the database, I'm also calling it Paperless. Okay, so with that done, the container's being pulled down, and our Postgres container's up and running. I'm going to set it to auto start. Okay, so with our database up and running, let's go back to the Apps tab and install Redis. Now, I use the Bitnami version, which is this one here, in A75G's repository, and I'll show you the reason why, but for the moment, notice here it says it's got additional requirements. We're going to have to run this command in a moment. So whilst we're here, let's copy this onto the clipboard and then click onto OK. Now, the reason I'm using this particular version of Redis is because it allows empty passwords. So that means we don't have to put a Redis password in. So to not use a password, we need to have allow empty password set to yes, but also we need to delete the password that's specified here. Now, I'm deliberately going to actually leave this here because I want to show you what happens when error checking when our paperless container runs later. But what you should do setting up now is delete this and have a blank password. And so why would I want to have no password for Redis? Well, basically because the paperless container, it doesn't have a variable for us to be able to put a password in. So that's why I prefer this one. Now, you'll notice this one hasn't started. That's because we need to run that command to set the right permissions on the folder in the app data. So let's open up a terminal window and just paste that command from the clipboard into here and hit enter. Okay, so now I should be able to start this up and we can see it's running fine. Again, let's set this to auto start. Okay, so now let's set up the actual paperless container itself. So back across obviously to the apps tab and search for paperless and install the official version here. Here it says it's got additional requirements, a Redis container. Well, we've just done that, so that's fine. And so now let's scroll down here. And the first thing we need to do is to map the paths that we set up a moment ago in the paperless share. So here it's asking for the media. So let's browse for that inside the paperless share and across to media. And the consumption folder the same inside the paperless share onto consume. And the export the same, paperless, export. Okay, so here, this is the IP address of where Redis is running. So this is going to be the same IP address as your Unraid server. If you're not sure what it is, just go to the settings, network settings, and here on your network interface, you'll see this little button info. Click onto that, and here we can see the IP address of my Unraid server here. Now, it's important, obviously, that the IP address is static. Otherwise, if the address of your Unraid server changes, well, Paperless isn't going to be able to find your Redis container. So, what we need is Redis : the IP address of the server, : and then Redis's port 6379. Okay, so now if we scroll down here, the Paperless OCR language, obviously you set this to the language that you need. I'll leave mine here as English. And here you can set other languages as well. The Paperless file format, you should just leave that as is. And obviously you can set your time zone here. Now here's where it's important. We're going to turn our Paperless into a true pro level stack. Because if we just click apply now, we're only going to use the built-in SQLite database. And we want to be using Postgres. So we're going to have to add a few variables of our own. So to do that, we click here, add another path, port, variable, label, or device. So let's click that, and we're going to be adding a variable. So for the name, let's call it paperless_db host, and the key is the same. Now all of these will be in the description of this video, so you can copy and paste. Now the value here, this is where we put in the IP address of our Unraid server, and click on to add. Now again, we're going to add another variable. And this time it's the paperless database port. And by default, that's 5432. You'd only change that if you already had a Postgres container installed and you wanted the Postgres container you've installed for your paperless to be running on a different port. Okay, so next variable. Now this is the paperless database name, and here you want to put in the value that you set earlier when setting up the Postgres container. Right, next variable. This is the database user. Again, put in the user you created earlier. Next, we need to specify the database password. Now, while we're adding these database variables, we're going to do a bit of future-proofing for part 2 of the series. We're going to add some variables for Tika and Gothenburg, basically so the wiring is already in the template. So the first thing we're going to add, so the variable name is paperless_Tika_enabled. Key obviously the same. Now, if we set this to 1, it would be enabled, but because we're not going to be installing these containers yet, we're going to set it for now to 0. So next, we're going to add the variable that specifies the Gothenburg endpoint. And for that, it's http://the_Unraid IP:3000. I'm not going to put in my IP of my Unraid server as yet. I'm leaving this for part 2. Okay, and the final one, this is the paperless Tika endpoint for Tika Apache. It's http:// your Unraid server's IP, the port number 9998. Again, I'm leaving this to fill in for myself in part 2 of this video. Okay, so always best to just double check and have a look through everything. So we've got all of our bind mounts specified here. We've got our Redis container specified, language, time zone, the database host, port number, database name, database username, and database password. At the moment, the paperless Tika is disabled, and here are the 2 endpoints ready to put in later. Okay, so let's click apply and pull down the container. Okay, so all 3 are running now. Again, I'm going to auto start here the paperless container. Now, I always like to just come across here and click onto the logs just to check that everything looks okay. And here I can see that there's actually an error. It's saying it can't connect to the Redis container. It's having an authentication error. Now, if you remember earlier, I deliberately left the password field filled in the Redis container. So now that Redis container expects to have a password when something connects to it. And as we haven't specified another variable for the Redis password, well, I'm just going to delete this out here and use a blank password and everything will work fine. So I'm going to have to delete this out here and click on to apply. So now I'm going to start back up paperless and hopefully we're not going to get that error. Okay, so that's looking much more promising. But it's always good to come to the logs, especially with containers that have a lot of other dependencies, and you'll always see the error and it will tell you what's going wrong. Maybe it could be a Postgres error if you'd maybe put in the Postgres password incorrectly accidentally. Always come here and it will tell you what's going on. But everything looks good now, so we can close this and then go and open up the web UI. Okay, so here it's giving us the option to sign up. So here we can put in a username, an email if we want, and our password put in here. Okay, so I'm going to click on to sign up. Okay, so there we are. Paperless is all set up and running. Okay, so here we are on the dashboard. Now there's 2 ways we can actually get documents to Paperless. We can either put them in the consume folder or we can just upload them or drag and drop them here. Okay, so I'm going to drag a PDF into here, which is some BIOS notes, and we can see it's uploading and we can see it's completed. Let's click on Open Document. So here we can see the document. We've got some general details here and the content. We can see all of the content of the document accurately detected here. Here we've got various metadata and we can put in notes for each document. Here we can see the history. Obviously, there's not going to be a lot of history here at the moment. And the permissions. If we had multiple users, then this would be more pertinent. But at the moment, there's only me, so only I have permission. So if we go back to the dashboard now, we can see it says Total Documents 1. And if we click on the Document tab on the left, we can see all of the documents on the server. Okay, so we know this document is in Paperless. So let's have a look at where it is on the Unraid server. So if we go back to the server here and go to Shares, then go into the Paperless share here, we're going to find it in here in this Media folder here. So in here, inside Documents, Originals, there we can see the PDF. So another way is to actually put a document in the consume folder and it will automatically be detected and uploaded into Paperless. Okay, so let's do that now. Let's go across onto my PC, which is logged into the network share. Let's go into the consume folder here and I'm going to paste in a document. Here's an AA policy document and we can see it's just disappeared. And for those of you across the pond, AA in the UK is the same as your AAA. It's breakdown recovery. Okay, let's go back to Paperless, and there straight away we can see another document. So let's have a look at it. There we can see the document that's just been uploaded. And here's the information about it. Let's have a look at the content. And we can see here it's picked up and read the content really, really well. Okay, so there you have it. So we've gone from a blank Unraid share to a fully functional database-backed digital brain. Your foundation's rock solid, your permissions are perfect, and you're officially ready to start clearing out that physical filing cabinet. Now, while you're getting grips with the system, I really recommend checking out the official Paperless NGX documentation. It's linked in the description below. It's a great resource if you want to start reading up on how to organize your tags, set up document types, and really tailor the system exactly for how you actually need it. But remember, don't get too comfortable because we're just getting started. In part 2, we're going to take this setup even further. We're going to be activating those Gutenberg and Apache Tika sidecars, and I'll be showing you how to handle complex Office documents and how to automate various workflows. Anyway, you aren't going to have to wait too long for part 2. It's coming out very, very soon. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you ran into any issues, please let me know in the comments. And if you found this helpful, definitely hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and I'll catch you in the next video.